Welcome everyone to the video. Welcome to the channel. Um, we have a lot to talk about today, so buckle up. I've made notes, quite a bit of notes actually. I've been taking notes as I've been saying, where's the start of the notes here? I mean, it's not all notes, but a good chunk of notes here that I've been working on since yesterday to prepare for this video. Of course, I have another plan in mind. We're going to talk about feedback and other things. I'll bring up a couple of things regarding reselling right off the bat in the discussion phase of this video, but we will be talking tariffs, how they affect the economy, how they're going to, I think, affect the economy, what I think the plan is, um, why. Why we were all, I was caught off guard, and a lot of other people were caught off guard by outrageous tariffs, outrageous in my opinion. And why I think that is. A curious little tidbit of news that came out, which might have more implications than I think or it might be more significant than what people think. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about what's sold, but we got to break into a bottle here. Now, I was in my whiskey cabinet the other day, and this was way in the back, and I forgot I still had this. One of my, this is, I was gonna say personal favorite. This is one of my top favorite whiskeys of all time right here. Redbreast 12. I get this at Costco. They usually have it pretty regularly at Costco. It's an Irish whiskey. 12-year. It's a 80 proof. Yeah, 80 proof, so 40% alcohol there. And in my opinion, well, in my opinion, of course, these are all everything in this video is my opinion. Um, one of the best Irish whiskeys out there. I talk about Jameson. I love Jameson. It's a great whiskey. We have the Green Spot, which is an amazing whiskey. This right here is right up there as far as my favorite all-time whiskey. Just if my all-time favorite, you told me I gotta pick my favorite. It's Oban. It's Scotch whiskey. Um, which I don't have a bottle of it right now. I'm hoping someone will gift it to me. If not, I'll buy a bottle, and then we'll break it open on probably my next stream or my next stream, next podcast. But Redbreast is right up there. 1, 2, 3, probably my third one. My second one, I would Woodford. My second one, it always gets tossed around. I'm a huge fan of Maker's Mark. I really like Maker's Mark, and Maker's Mark and Woodford kind of like they kind of trade spots between 1 and 4 depending upon how I'm feeling. Um, and Redbreast sits always right there at number 3. Sometimes I think it's my number 2 favorite, but it's a really good whiskey. Let's pop it open. Let's get it open here. For all the cork snobs out there, this is I don't think it's a real cork. It's kind of like a cross between a little bit of artificial, a little bit of real. I don't know. There's a bit of a funkiness to it, a bit of a kind of a Scotch funkiness to it, in my opinion. But that's just a nice, sweet, smooth, buttery. Let's get the pour going. Yeah, that's enough of that. We're not going to get too crazy here. This one glass has a bit of a wider base here, so you got to be cautious with your pour. Oh yeah, it's like a little like fruity, perfumey. Aerate it just a little bit. We got a little bit of aeration going on there. Nice light golden color to it. It's really fruity, really fruity. You definitely get those apple. It's not as big of a punch in the apple like Green Spot was, which we just tried a few episodes ago, but it's definitely there. Just nice fruity berries. Oh yeah, just Okay, if you rate smoothness like the burn, a lot of people say smooth. When they say smooth, I mean there's no burn. There's no burn going on. But technically, not really the right way to describe it. But I will tell you, this has very little burn from the alcohol. Okay, so very very little burn. Just an enjoyable, nice, relaxing, smooth, fruity, buttery, oily. In my opinion, it has everything. It has everything you can ask for in a whiskey. So good. So good. One of my best. And I would definitely recommend this, if you're just getting into whiskey, if you've never tried it before, if you want, something to enjoy with friends, go Redbreast 12. It's great. Amazing. Okay. Great pour. I mean, I can't say enough about how good that is. Okay, so originally I was going to do some feedback, but I don't want the video to get too crazy, too long. A new chicken place opened in our city, and I can never remember the name. I always want to say Finger Licking Good. I don't know why, but it is. See, I can't even think of it right now. Oh man, they serve a little bit of bread with it. It's can't think of the name. I really can't. I always have a tough time remembering the name of this place. It's so good. The chicken is good. Okay, don't get me wrong. The chicken is not like, oh my god, the chicken. There are better chicken places, but it is good chicken. First of all, first and foremost, good chicken. But it's all the accompaniments that come along with it. Like they do a little bit of toast with that. The sweet tea is just really, really good. Um, Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's. So the chicken isn't like outrageous. It's like In-N-Out, Yeah, In-N-Out. We have two In-N-Outs within probably about a 5 to 6 mile radius of each other, and they're both jam-packed all the time. The moment they open to the moment they close, jam-packed all the time. It's a good burger. It's really delicious. If you ever had an In-N-Out, it's a really, really good hamburger. Does it warrant long lines? I don't think so. There are definitely better burgers in my opinion. The fry I really just don't like the fries. I really dislike the fries. They're a decent accompaniment, but again, I don't care for the fries. The burger it's a really, really good burger. Um, it's very delicious, and, would I rank it as one of the top burgers? No, not in my no, but it is very, very good, and the same thing about Raising Cane's, the chicken is really, really good. It's good chicken, it's got a good crunch to it. Yeah, yeah, I generally prefer Buffalo Wild Wings, like chicken sandwiches there. Um, but, I wouldn't say it's the best chicken, but I like the experience as a whole there. Alright, so actually, I like chicken at Popeyes, really good. I like Popeyes chicken. Um, okay, let's get to the what sold so we can get to the discussion phase of things here. So I picked out what did I pick on 9 or 10? I think I wanted to keep it kind of low. I didn't want to get too crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's 9. Yeah, I think it's 9 there. Um, 9 cool, unique, interesting sales. Again, this isn't all my sales. If I did all my sales, this would be a really, really long video. Um, I want to pick out the cool, the unique items, the items that I think, a lot of people pass up that, they don't consider valuable or have any value. These have value and these sell. So let's go ahead and pop this up here. Oh, I already have it right here. Minimize that. Okay. And I need my phone. Did a lot of writing on other stuff, not on the prices. Either way, I've already got everything going on my phone, so I might as well just use it. Okay, so we have a pencil sharpener, vintage pencil sharpener, Apsco, giant, tight hand crank, and how many holes does it have in it, and where would you find this on a wall and over a desk? It is mountable. USA, I always like to put, and this will kind of lead into my discussion later. I always like to put made in the USA. If it's made in the USA, I'm going to use made in the USA in the title if I can, or at least put USA in there. because it is a great selling point, and I think it does help to sell items, knowing made in the USA. Also, too, it goes to that vintage factor as well. So, what did it sell for? And it sold quickly within a few hours of me listing it. You just have to make sure to price it right. You can't get too crazy with the pricing on this. Can't think like top to market. It might sit for a little while. I kind of price my items usually right in the middle of the market. So you got to buy accordingly. $17.90 is what it sold for. $6.53 is what they paid in shipping. This one is 6 by 6 by 6. Too many. 6 bucks. I know the number is not, if you subscribe to that kind of thing, I know the number isn't, the best number in the world, but that's what it is. So just a really cool, just a vintage, and you could see I kind of changed my background a little bit. I got some advice on listing, primarily listing on my own website or my Shopify store. So I'm kind of changing things up a bit in the way I picture there. Got some new backgrounds, like a food. I bought this little food background thing. Came with a bunch of different backgrounds, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to, maybe help my eBay sales as well too. So I incorporated it overall into kind of everything. So you might see different little backgrounds with some of my pictures here. But really, really cool. Sold very fast. The ruler and measurements or everything are still in my pictures. I just quickly take a picture with a different background. But a really cool item. If you're passing the pencil sharpeners, especially vintage, made in the USA ones, you don't want to pay too much, like maybe $3, $4 might be kind of pushing it. You want to be kind of below 4. 5 is definitely pushing it. Try to get it lower than 5. Although there's still some money to be made at $5, I would try to get it lower than that. Just to get a little bit of better of a profit margin on these. And this was dented up too, which I, put that in the description and kind of showed in the pictures as best I could. And it's still sold. So definitely keep your eye out for these. And planners. I always sell planners. I like picking up planners. If you see my videos, this one was a little more unique and it was tiny. You can see in relationship to my hand. This was a tiny guy. $30 is what it sold for. $6.57 is what they paid in shipping. And this just went in a padded poly bag. Is what it went into. So it's a tiny, tiny three-ring thing. You have something you can throw in your purse and your pack anywhere. Quickly whip it out, take some notes. It was a nice, soft, pebbled leather. So really cool item. Motone, I believe I'm pronouncing that properly. Little planner, 3-ring, wallet size. I threw that in there too. The other one that has a really cool small one, it's like a wallet, is it's called Filofax. Definitely keep your eye out for Filofax. I haven't found any recently, but it is a great name to look out for. Sells really, really well. So really, really cool. Miniature journal. That's why I put mini in there too. I feel like I probably put miniature, but I chose mini. Okay, this sold within a day. I listed it, and someone immediately asked me, "Well, what's the lowest you'll take?" Within a day, they asked me, "What's the lowest you'll take?" Not immediately; it was within a day. And I picked this up at a Savers, and I didn't pay that much for it. I think it was like 2 something with a discount, and sold for $20, even 20. I had it listed for 24 something with change. But just I was going off the last sale of it. But someone, I was like, hey, I'll take $20 in a really fast sale on this. $6.84 is what they paid in shipping. Padded poly bag is what this went into. Of course, I use additional bubble wrap with these items. I don't just throw it in there like that. No, I'm using additional bubble wrap to make sure to cushion the book, right? In a pillow of bubble wrap. If you might be thinking, oh man, you must be wasting a bunch of money on bubble wrap. I probably am. It does cost a lot, but you get these you can buy gigantic what do you call it? You see like those dump trucks, wheel size of bubble wrap. Yes, it's pricey up front, but let me tell you, the overall like individual little 1 square unit cost is not that much. It's not that much at all. I calculated it out. It came out to like maybe like a couple of pennies or so, or a penny or two. at the most, for a tiny little square. But I've since found a cheaper supplier of that, so I get it at a more cheaper rate. So, if you're buying it at a place like U-Haul, if you're buying those boxes at Target, if you're buying even at Walmart, Walmart does have a decent deal on it if you're just getting started. But if you're buying it at Walmart and you got a large operation, you're probably wasting money. You got to find a better supplier. I mean, it's definitely good if you're just starting out, but if you're sending out all kinds of packages every single day, you need a better supplier. Now, this was interesting because I did not know it was a mascot for Saturday City College. I didn't know it was a Jaguar. It looks like the Jaguar, the football team, NFL football team. But Saturday City College has a mascot, and it is the Jaguar. So these cool little mini helmets, I used to deal a lot in these mini helmets because I used to get them autographed. I used to, buy, sell them a lot autographed. They're great for autographs. Um, and they usually come in like a little plastic box. It's kind of like the box itself that it comes in is kind of a little display box, but they're just really cool. They're, just fashioned after the big one, the regular size helmets. And so when I saw this, I knew immediately that they sell quite often, and they sell, decently. But I didn't know San Jose City had even produced this. So when I saw it there, I looked at it and I saw uh, it said SJCC on it. And I'm like, that's San Jose City. I'm pretty that's definitely the acronym, right? The initials. And sure enough, it sold. What did it sell for? What did it sell for? 30, I think it was $30. Yeah, $30 even, $5.91. And this went in an 8x8x8 box is what this went in. So really cool. Keep your eye for these mini helmets. Don't pay too much because most of the NFL ones used might sit around $20 or so. $20 or so. So in my opinion, $5, $6, $7's kind of pushing it. Probably want to go a little bit less than that. Probably want to be right around the $5 range. Used, brand new, they'll go for a little bit more. And then if you're autographed, depending upon if they have a COA, which is a certificate of authenticity. Definitely if they are signed, you want to get that, make sure you get that COA to get maximum dollars. You can still sell it signed. You just have to specify there's no COA or no certificate of authenticity, something like that. Depending upon the name, you might want to get it authenticated if it's a big enough name. If you can figure it out too. Some of those signatures, very, very hard. Okay, this was pretty cool. As you can see, I just took a whole picture. I didn't slim down the picture on this one. But we have an Elvin ellipse set. So you could just create a bunch of ellipses. That's what it was. It was just a bunch of ellipses, just a bunch of stencils in there. However, and the reason why I put it in here is because it's rare, unique. I don't typically like to show like those really high dollar amount items just because it creates a sense of, I think it does. You let me know. A false sense, kind of like a false sense that, I can go out and find $1 and turn it into, 80, 90, $100. I can go find something for $2 and turn it into $200 or $300. Because that's what you see a lot of online. You see a lot. That's what people post. Oh man, I found this, amazing item. I only spent $1 on it and I'm going to make 300 or 400. I'm going to 10 times, 20 times my money. But it's just not the case. It's just not the case for, selling online, doing this full time. It's just not the case. So I'm just double checking my spacing here because I know I didn't take the picture right. And so I'm just making sure it's not off camera. I'm seeing it on my screen, but I want to make sure that, when I look at the video later, it's still on there. But let's go ahead and, I had to actually customize the box. It's very, very thick. It had, as you can see, it had 15 of these stencils in there, but they're all thin. So I just created a box out of a giant Uline box I had. Very, very easy, quick and easy. It was pretty flat, so piece of cake. And what did it sell for? It sold for $90. $90. And they paid quite a bit in shipping because it was really, really long. We were able to get it down a little bit. So we did make a little bit of money on the shipping. $17.29 is what they paid in shipping. So the shipping was high because it was a very long set. So the dimension started playing a role in the cost of the shipping. So you can even see what time I snapped this this thing at was at 9:29 p.m. Okay. And then the next one here, we have a popcorn bucket. Now, popcorn buckets are becoming more of a collector's item. I definitely feel that a lot of these movie companies, not movie companies, but a lot of these theater companies have found a niche. They found something where they can make some decent profit on, and not just the snacks. Because on the movie tickets, they really don't make that much money on movie tickets. That's why I feel kinda obligated whenever I go to at least get popcorn. Even if I've already eaten, I feel obligated to at least get popcorn and a drink because I know that they make almost nothing on showing the movie there. And there's a lot of overhead there, and they employ a lot of people. I know a lot of people that used to work there back in high school, at different theaters in the area. And so they employ a lot of people. They employ a lot of, young people, teenagers, and I feel obligated to contribute something. I just don't wanna go there even though we generally eat before a movie because usually we're hungry, then we go see a movie. And so I'm not necessarily and the food there, like the hot dog, it's a decent hot dog. Usually, the pizza is not good. I don't wanna waste the money on the pizza, really, but always feel obligated to at least get popcorn and a drink when I go. And now I think they've really found, uh, a certain market, a certain niche and collectibles and popcorn and, getting the right IP. The IP is the intellectual property, which is, like this, right? In this case, it's Disney Inside Out too. That's the IP. The property is Inside Out. And, this sold for $27 and 66 cents, $7.81 what they paid in shipping. This one at 12, 10, 10 bucks. Um, so yeah, they're pretty cool. They're really nice. Not something really that I'm into collecting. I think Disney itself, like if you go to Disney parks, they really kind of champion this whole collectible popcorn, collectible cup thing. And now movie theaters are doing it too. So really, really cool. Keep your eye out. Some brands do better. Some, IPs or some movies do better than others. I gotta, like, shoo away this little notification here. Oh, not that we got crazy there. And now photo albums, and this photo album just flew right off the shelf. Within the hour of me listing it, it sold for $25 and 90 cents, $10 even is what they paid in shipping. Padded poly bag is what this went in. It's a photo album, scrapbook. It's more like a more scrapbooky than actual photo album because you have to stick you probably get a glue stick on a photo and then stick it in there. There wasn't like pages for actual photos to go into. Then it had a lot of, write your memories on there and everything like that. But Carter's, the brand is Carter's. Carter's makes kids clothes and they make photo albums. So sold incredibly quickly, buy accordingly. Around $5 or less, in my opinion. You can spend a little bit more because it did sell for $25. So there's a little bit more room to play around with. But I like to buy as cheap as possible if I could. So really cool, scrapbooking, photos, things like that as well too, sell incredibly well. I'm just checking the photo too because I noticed I didn't squeeze this down either. So really quickly, you can see additional details. You see a box 77. That's where this is located in my box system. And you can see I'm checking my notification. I want to make sure there's no incriminating evidence on here. Or no, I'm not doxing myself with anything in here. Um, but yeah, really, really cool item. Scrapbooking photo albums, they still sell. Vintage are better in my opinion. And here's another one. Again, what was I doing? What was I thinking with these pictures? I was not, doing these correctly. But either way, I know I remember I got this at the flea market. It's cool. It really what got me was the fact that I had a Kmart tag on it. This went in a box, a 1286 box. But I had a nice rubber bottom to it. Really cool, just vintage backpack. I kind of remember when they started coming out with these rubber bottoms on backpacks, and the fact that I had Kmart, which I don't know if there's any more Kmarts left. There used to be one down the street where I used to live way, way back in the day. And just a lot of memories, and if you watch one of my regular videos, you'll see, I pick up stuff if it has like a Mervyn's tag on it, or it has some old Emporium tag on it, service merchandise, best. We used to go to these places all the time with my parents, my grandmother, and it just brings back a memory for me. So really cool item here. Let's keep on moving. Oh, that's what I wanted to mention really quick about this. These next two items, yeah, there's no sell-through rate on these at all. These next two items. This one is the one I'm gonna show you next. There's no sell-through rate on any of these. So, it's really a pat on the back for myself, but it's one of those things where you just have to kind of know. You just kind of have to, through experience, know what's going to sell, what's not going to sell, because there's no data to support the sale. So, it takes a trained eye, a trained mind, a trained person to have been doing this for so long to know I can still sell that. I can still make money on that. Same thing with this thing. Typically, you would stay away from all these little spun glass things. They're not really, really worth it. Just like it's like precious moments, like Avon stuff, these had their day, and I don't think their day is coming back at all. But I would stay away from majority of spun glass. But there are some pieces that I look at and I know I can sell that piece right there. And what did this sell for? 20, I mean, it's not crazy. We're not talking like crazy money. Um, oh man, messing everything up here. See, I'm already thinking of the discussion phase. They're already going through my head. $24.50, and this went in an 8 by 8 box. This went in a bit of an oversized box, and the reason is because it's a globe. It's not a snow globe. It's just globe with nothing else in it. It's been glued to a little mirror bottom. And I'm very concerned with those. I'm pretty sure it's still in transit because surprisingly it went overseas. So I was really concerned with the glass ornaments in this and it getting jarred around. So I went with an oversized box, wrapped it 4 times in bubble wrap, put plenty of packaging paper around, kind of hopefully suspend it. I think the best case scenario would be like some sort of rubber band system, so it kind of just like moves with the absorb the shock. That would be the best kind of scenario, but I'm not about to, get crazy with rubber bands here. So I did my best to suspend it with a bunch of paper, packaging paper, and the fact that it's going overseas, the fact that it's international, going through the international hub, I'm not going to get a return if anything does happen to it. eBay will take care of me and the buyer there, but I still hope it makes it okay. Did I say 8 by 8 box? That's what it went into. Just a cool piece. Again, there's no name on it. There's really, it has Christmas, it has glass. My opinion, for somebody who's just starting out, if you've only been at this for a few years, it might be a tough sale. It might be tough to figure out what should I be putting in there? How should I list this item? Just scanning the shelf, just knowing that you can sell it, that there is a buyer out there for that item would be tough for someone that's been just starting out, been doing it for a few years. It takes a lot of experience to sell items that have no supporting data, zero supporting data to get it sold, but it's sold it. Okay. Now let's get into the discussion phase. I'm going to quickly bring up a little bit of reseller talk really quick, and then we'll jump into tariffs, economy, all that good stuff. Okay, so here we go. Let's get into this right now. We're going to talk about a little bit of reselling, what I'm seeing out there in the reselling world, and a lot of people offering advice on what you should be doing. A lot of people uh, out there talking about reselling. What's going on here and there, what they're doing, tips, tricks, all that stuff. A lot of people talking about the highs and the lows. But what a lot of people, and I believe it definitely has to be true for many people, is no one has really operated a brick and mortar retail space. They've never been in retail until eBay or until starting, reselling. They've never done any other type of retail. Maybe they worked there when they were a kid. Maybe they worked there in teenage years. But they really probably didn't have any much skin in the game. They really didn't have maybe they really, as a kid, I know when I was working, as a teen, I didn't really care about the company I was working for. It was the paycheck, right? And the benefits. Then if you worked in a food place, extra food, or if you worked at at a retail space, it was all about the discounts and maybe clearance items, stuff right in the back. I always wanted to work at a cell phone store to get the discount on cell phones, extra minutes. We had to pay for minutes, and we had to pay for messages. Before messages, we had to pay for minutes. Then we had to pay for messages, data eventually came and all that. So there was no unlimited anything back in the day. Everything, there was a certain amount. There was a limit to everything, and you had to pay for that. But if you worked for certain companies, you can get a discount on that. And I was like that. And I was a big tech guy, so I always wanted to get the deals on the phones and all that stuff. And so maybe that's the extent of a lot of their experience. But when you're operating a physical retail space, you're gonna see a lot. You would have seen a lot of the same what are the patterns and everything that you see it online. Yes, there's a difference because you don't actually have a physical store that people are walking into online, but the patterns, consumer patterns are the same. You think just because, you can quickly hit, buy all that stuff. No, no, I mean, there's still impulsive buyers. There's still calculated buyers. There's still window shoppers and all that. There's still a bunch of those people out there online or in person. And you're gonna have slow days, you're gonna have, busy days, you're gonna have mediocre days, you're gonna have no days. The it's all this the consumer and again, think of yourself. Think of what you go out there and buy every single day. What are you spending your money on all the time? Are you buying the stuff that you were listing on eBay or wherever you're listing your items? Yes, granted, you are buying them to list them, but would you pay that amount for that item that you are listing? If you're just browsing around, are you gonna spend $20 on a mug? Okay. How often do you spend $20 on a mug? So you got to think of yourself as a consumer. And a lot of these people would, think I would definitely believe they would think differently if they had run retail stores and see the patterns that consumers will show you as they shop, and I think a lot of people that aren't so much you know, eh, so many people that ride the ups and down waves so well are the people that have run retail spaces, people that have been in retail. Now I never had an official like brick and mortar store, but I did a lot of collectible shows, sports card shows, where you pay for your booth, you set everything up. At one point, in beginning of eBay, I was doing a lot of buying on eBay so I can fill up a booth with items, sports cards, collectibles. We did Beanie Baby, we all kinds of stuff, toys, all kinds of stuff, toys and collectibles and stuff. But it started out with sports cards and memorabilia. And the one good thing about events like that, conventions or shows or anything, is they're doing all the advertising for you. And they're hopefully bringing the buyer to you. The specific buyer that is into buying sports cards, they're bringing them to you. Does that change their pattern? No. We've had great shows. You have good shows. You had Hey, we did a show. It's great. We got our name out there. You know, we've done, shows where you can make thousands in a day. Then we've done shows where you make, all right, we paid the booth and we're good, you know? Um, so we were in a show with a very specialized show, a show where all the right buyers, the right eyes that you want are going to be there. That still doesn't translate to an incredible amount of sales. It's still, you can bring all the best stuff you have, but consumers are consumers. We don't know every consumer is going through something different. Think of yourself, put yourself in the scenario of a consumer. And, now one thing about retail, and, I've heard this a lot over the years, you know, everything's going to go online. Everything's going online. Everything's going online. Pretty much the only way you're going to buy something is online. It happened during the pandemic, um, but as of right now, this point in time, still over 80% of sales are in-person brick and mortar stores. So leaves around 20% for online sales. Is there still growth in online sales? Yes, there is. The great thing about online sales, you just get a tremendous amount of views on your items. You reach a very broad market with those items. Consumer patterns will still remain the same, though. The patterns that consumers have will still remain, whether they're in person or online. It doesn't change. And if you had a retail space, operated at in-person events, anything like that, the pattern, do you have a better view of these patterns and these ups and downs, and just know that they're always there. When you watch videos on YouTube and you see people, oh, we're buying this, we're selling that, we're selling that, we're selling this, we're selling that, we're selling that, it creates an unrealistic view of selling online. Selling online, selling anywhere, you're going to have this exact consumer problem, same exact consumer patterns. It doesn't really change anything. What do consumers want? Low prices. What do they want? They want their items now. They want, you still gotta provide a great value and everything, just because there's more eyes doesn't mean you're going to outsmart, you're going to beat out retail in-person brick and mortar stores, you know, they still account for 80% of sales. It's still the lion's share, and I believe it still will remain the lion's share. I think there's a limit to online sales. I think I I don't know what, if I had to put a number on it, I would say somewhere between 70, 30, 60, 40. you know, 30%, 40% online sales is where it would hit and kind of just stop right there. I don't think it would grow. It would still grow because there's new humans every single day. Every single day there's new humans. So we're still going to see growth. Um, just like inflation, to get a little bit into what we're gonna talk shortly about tariffs, but there'll still be inflation. And, a lot of people are, oh, inflation's not bad, inflation is this. Well, there will always be inflation. We need controlling the inflation is the key there. There will be inflation. We want inflation. If there's no inflation, something's wrong. There's no more humans being made in the world. Or, there's other factors that could contribute to that. You don't want negative inflation. You want a steady growth of slow inflation over time. That's what you want. It's going to naturally happen. Um, but either way, you know, retail, if you a lot of people have never worked or never seriously worked, I should say, seriously worked, or had their own retail space, brick and mortar, sold in person before. All they know is online selling, and they don't know the other side of it, because there is no other side of things. And you gotta know what consumers want. You gotta know what consumers are doing. You gotta follow the consumer patterns. There's a trends. If you're subscribed and you have access to the advertisement tab on eBay, there's a whole calendar of trends for this coming year, what they expect, this year to be based on past trends. So definitely keep an eye on that. Everyone's looking at these patterns. Everyone's looking for these patterns to hopefully get a leg up on what's going on with consumers. Try to put the right items out when consumers are looking at it. So um just be aware of that. Just be aware that, if you are starting out. And the other thing too is most people, and I know I've seen the hard data at eBay that most people selling on the platform are part-timers. You know, there's not that many full-timers out there. A lot of them are just part-time sellers. So just be aware of that. And a lot of people offering advice are giving that advice from a part-time perspective. A lot of them are part-time sellers. Are they resellers? Yes, they're resellers. If you take an item and throw it up on eBay that you previously used, it's reselling it. Or you take an item that's brand new, you're a seller. You're an online seller. Um, but it's their perspective is coming from a part-time view of things. Um, and just be aware of that. Just be aware that most sellers on the platform are part-time. I've seen it. And just know that, that a lot of the advice is coming from that perspective. So, pick they still offer great advice. Don't, there's some bad advice, some good advice, mediocre advice, but there's still a lot of good advice out there to follow. And definitely I recommend, getting as many opinions as you possibly can. It's like a doctor, just get as many opinions as you can, trust me. We get as many opinions as you possibly can. And then formulate your own opinion from there. But I'm just gonna do some other talking here about this, but I'm just gonna jump into let me I'll save this maybe for the next yeah, company. We'll talk about that maybe in the next video. Okay, let me fold that. Just fold this over in my notes so I don't look at it and mix myself up here. Let's do that. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I kind of wrote a little bit on that page. Okay, I'm gonna fold it at an angle so I know where I'm at. But actually, where I wanted to start was toward the end of my notes here. If I've been, listening to what's going on, listening to everyone's opinion, what's happening. Again, I do the same thing. I listen to all different opinions, and then I formulate my own opinion. Because everyone's gonna have their own opinion. So you got to come up with your own opinions. And so really what I wanted to start with here is because you're going to hear the talk of, and you probably heard this in Donald Trump's speeches and all that, a trade deficit. And, you automatically think deficit, you think negatively, think deficit, don't want a deficit, and it's not a trade deficit. So you trade and then followed by negativity, in my opinion. But I think a lot of people would take it as a negative when you say we're at a trade we're up in a trade deficit, and it keeps repeating it. It's a little mind game-ish, to try to keep repeating it, you keep saying it, and eventually get stuck, right? But what is a trade deficit exactly? And what it is exactly is basically we import more than we actually export. So we're bringing in a lot more items. And I think everyone is well aware that we get a lot of items from China, overseas, from Asian countries. Why do we get a lot of stuff from Asian countries? The labor is incredibly cheap. Therefore, the item is incredibly cheap to pay and incredibly cheap to be made, and is sold at an incredibly cheap price, and it can be brought over here and marked up. Just know that there's a lot of cost built into every single item. So when you're bringing an item over, there's the cost of labor, the cost of the what it took to make that item. What raw resources went into that to make that item. There's a shipping cost, the cost of getting it shipped over here. There's middleman costs. There's all kind, there's a cost at every step of the way. There's money to be made at every single step along the way. So more goods come into this country than actually go out of this country. Now, why do you think that is? Because, well, I kind of explained it because it's all that stuff is cheap. Made in America, and I talked about this briefly, sells items. Why? Because people automatically associate with quality. However, being made in America is quite expensive. It's very expensive to make in America. There's so much, rules, regulations, minimum wage, all that good stuff. I'm not going to get all into the weeds there and all that. I think everybody should be paid a fair wage, for what they're doing. And, yeah, I believe in, it might be a dream, but I believe in the whole Star Trek Next Generation, get to a point in society where, we don't have to worry about those things. We don't have to worry about, a pay structure. Everybody's going to have a roof over their heads. Everybody's going to be fed. That's probably, yeah, I think it's, I don't know if it's obtainable or not, but I definitely think it's something that we can look to as a goal. Will we ever achieve it? I don't know. I really don't think so. Right now, especially, I really don't think so. But I definitely think it can be a goal and something to strive to. But for now, we're in the situation we're in now. So, do you think, and I wrote on here too, because this matters, young America, young people who are buying all these things, who are buying, immediately think of, as far as why we import so much stuff, think immediately Temu, think immediately of Shein, all those, a lot of the stuff on Amazon, all those items. Why can they offer such a cheap price? Because they're getting them at such a cheap rate. And who's buying a lot of this stuff? Younger Americans, younger than the people in politics. I really believe, and I've discussed this, before with other people and, discussing here. I think there should be an age limit on people that are in politics, in my opinion. Some of these people, 80-year-olds, 70-year-olds have a far different opinion than, or want to see this whole shit moved in a different direction, in a certain direction than where we want the ship steered is different than a 70-year-old or 60-year-old wants, or 80-year-old wants it, Yeah, I'm not going to say 60. I like 60-year-old, 70 yeah, I like old people. I like old people that are older than me. But our opinions are different on what, how we do things in everyday life. Um, but do you think young Americans, the people that will eventually go into leadership positions within the country, do you think they care that we import more than we actually export? Is it a bad thing? Well, in certain industries, it can be a bad thing, right? A lot of cheap stuff coming into the country, and it kind of hurts, businesses here basically that are that produce products here because they can't compete with those lower price items, and they can bring in so much. Um, and we've as consumers in this country, we have benefited from it tremendously, tremendously. Um, think of, all these little things that you buy and it breaks, you throw it away, you buy another one, right? Why repair it? Because it's so cheap. I could just buy another one and get another one, battery packs. You think of battery packs, we go through them like all the time and then just throw it away. We'll get another one, right? It's so cheap and easy to get and easy to have access to. That's the mentality we've come to and trying to undo that, is like, I kind of relate it to Stockholm syndrome. It's tough. It's not easy trying to unwind, if someone's stuck in a cult or something. trying to unwind all that is difficult and takes time and it's not easy. Um, but that's kind of what you know, is it wrong? Is it right? I mean, like I said, it does hurt some industries. I was reading today that shrimpers, people that, in this country that are shrimpers in Gulf of Mexico, they're praising these tariffs because they've been hurt by imported shrimp. They've hurt their industry. Or not necessarily their industry, they've hurt them as a company, their business, as a company. But I definitely feel that, made in America, companies that make in America are definitely seeing a resurgence. This might hurt that resurgence. Definitely seeing a resurgence and using that made in America, made in the USA as a badge of honor, as look at we have great quality product. We make it here. We make it in the Midwest. We make it on the West Coast. We make it on the East Coast. This is where this product is made, and it's a great quality product. We employ great quality, skilled workers that make this item. It's going to be more expensive, but look, look at what you're getting, and I definitely think that is the way to go for made in America. I don't think going back, like I feel and I get the feeling that a lot of these policies, all these tariffs, basically not, um, not disguised it or anything. These tariffs, are kind of like a old, pre-World War II way of thinking. Yeah, it's too late. We're out there in the world. We're not, an isolationist country. We're out there. Do we need free trade? I mean, we were never at 100% free trade, um, but, we're up there. I think making little changes here and there, definitely, you probably heard this de minimis rule, where if you buy something that's less than $800, there's no additional fees to get it to you. So a lot of these companies out of China were taking advantage of that fact. And they developed some incredibly successful businesses. I think taking away that can definitely help. I don't think like I said earlier, these tariffs were way out of left field. Holy cow! Nobody really saw the extent, unless you're within the inner circle. No one really saw the extent of these tariffs coming. I mean, Vietnam, really? Vietnam? I mean, I'm like, what? Like Taiwan? I'm like, whoa. I mean, the other countries too. I mean, European countries as well were hit, but um, some of these other places, I mean, they're the closest to China, and really, in my opinion, it is, designed to really, really target China. Um, but let's kind of let me look at my notes here and make sure I'm doing this. I'm following what I plan to say here. Um, so bringing the whole manufacturing back. Now, Donald Trump is smart. He's a smart guy. He's using the tools that he has at his disposal. He obviously lots of things require and they go to Congress. They require slow moving parts of the government to get put into action. And he only has 4 years. Only has 4 more years. 4 years. Well, we're under 4 years now, but only have 4 years to put all this in action. And generally, what happens is during the presidency, they'll make all these changes, go through the normal process, slow moving, won't ever see any benefit from those until they're gone and out of office. So the next person that comes in gets the benefit. Who's this? And people in his administration, they're well aware of this. They know they only got 4 years to make these changes and they want to see the result while everybody in the administration is there. They want to see the result. They want to benefit from that result. And I definitely think he's using tariffs because it's something that he can do right now. Um, and avoid going, basically circumventing Congress and everything, every other branch of the government, circumvent them, to try to force other people's hands. One of the main reasons why I think tariffs are higher than anticipated, is because right before this announcement, the Fed chair, the Feds, the people that control the interest rates, the money, they basically gave, the chair gave a chairman, I think his last name is Powell, gave a speech not indicating that they, first of all, they didn't lower interest rates, and didn't give any indication that they were going to lower interest rates anytime soon. Donald Trump wants interest rates to go down. We talked about this in my previous video. It's one of the things that he wants to do. And because of that, I bet they changed the game. They changed the game plan. They were like, okay, they may have already had this all planned out. If they, if if the if he was not going to indicate or lower rates, or if he's not indicating that they were going to lower rates, then this is what we're going to do. Otherwise, if they do decide to lower rates, then we're going to stick to this plan. So they called an audible on it, and we got what we got. We got, and so he wants to move quickly, and he wants to make it hurt too. You not necessarily make it hurt long term. Wants to make it look like, like you get slapped in the face, and like you get stunned. You're like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? That's definitely, I believe, what they're looking for, what he's looking for, what the administration is looking for. Don't think for a second that there are other people in play here. There's other people, there's other agendas, there's other people that have their own agenda, their own goals, their own, what they want to do as well too. This isn't just one man here. There's other people at play here. We're not talking conspiracy theories or anything like that. There's a whole administration. When we say administration, and why I like to use the word administration, because there's a lot of people involved in this. A lot of advisors with people behind them telling them what to say. And so there's a lot of people that are kind of in play here. And so he's using tariffs, which is, a big tool in his arsenal to use to try to force the hand of the Fed to get interest rates, force Congress to start acting quicker, and force the other countries to hopefully give us, some better terms for trade. Again, the fact that we operate at a trade deficit, I don't think really matters to US, America. Yeah, it matters to some industries. Okay, it matters to some industries, but we've been doing so well when, as far as an economy, and will a more even playing field as far as if we can export more, will that generate more jobs? Yes, it should. It should definitely generate more jobs here in the United States if we can export more items. If we need to produce more items, obviously we're getting more people to help produce those things. But I don't know if a trade war or the tariffs are really the answer. I really, really think, I think that we should, get to that kind of a future in a different way. And I definitely feel that, tech is, I'm a tech guy, I'm in tech. Tech's always moving forward, and tech's always, we're creating this whole new, what we call AI. If you watch my last video, you'll know my opinions on AI. Created a whole new industry on AI. Again, not everybody's gonna be able to jump into that industry. Not everybody, has the ability to jump in there and start developing for AI, creating AI, programs, take advantage of it, whatever. But we start educating people now, start investing in that, and the infrastructure for that to help, produce the future of humanity in America. Um, but one thing about Donald Trump and these tariffs now, Donald Trump, for lack of a better words, is a bully. And, there are bullies everywhere. Yeah, they're all over the place. Is there anything wrong with it? I mean, some people have a problem with it, but, there's a lot of smart people that know how to kind of manipulate or direct people, kind of going to my whole thing about there's other people involved here. Um, I'm pretty sure, he knows what he's doing and he's well aware. There are people that are aware of this, there are people that are aware of, oh, yeah, I know it's almost trying to, trying to work their little manipulative tactics on me. I'm well aware of it. Some people aren't, some people are. And, um, there's all kinds of different people out there in the world, and you have to learn how to work with all these different people in the world. The people that are passive or pacifists. The bullies, the people that are just take it as life goes. Go with the wind. All kinds of personalities. That's the word I'm looking for. There's all kinds of personalities out there, tons of them out there, and you know and we tend to gravitate towards the ones we like, and unfortunately, some of these people are bullies, and that's just life. That's the way things are. It's the way people are, you know. Um, and there's certain traits that bullies have, and that's what he's doing right now. I think he's using that. And so he's using that to try to help, get his policies, his plan, at least his plan or other people's plans that are along with him, um, pushed through and in action. We talked about that in the last video. He wants lower interest rates. I definitely believe in the whole let's make I'm an American, so let's make America a good place to live. Let's have good jobs here for Americans. At least, I'm getting older, and at least for my kids and all that, let's have a great country here for not just my generation, older generation, but for our kids' generation as well too. Let's leave a great legacy behind for them to continue to build upon, to hopefully achieve, a great goal. My goal of Star Trek Next Generation, space travel and all that, you know, um, uh, but I don't know. I really, really get the feeling that these tariffs and everything are a step back. I really, really a step back. I really hope, and they will be a step, in my opinion, they will be a step back if they stay in place, if they're here now. But again, I definitely believe he's using them as a tool to help get his agenda and other people's agendas that are with him push through everything and see the fruits of their work now within 4 years. Within 4 years before he has to leave, before the next president, which is why I definitely believe they should be looking towards successor, someone that they could start to get room now to start to hopefully get elected in the next round to continue their mission. As far as the markets go and the massive crash that we're seeing, don't worry about it. There's going to be cycles. It'll go down, it'll go up, it'll go down, it'll go up. People that have, been around a while will know this. We'll know the cycle. If you've been in the cycles, you'll know the ups and downs and the coming back arounds and all that. Don't worry. We're not stressed over here, and I'd recommend you not be stressed over there either, wherever you are at. Um, and the other thing he's using as well too, to his advantage is, while we're not the biggest, population as far as the country goes, our buying power, how much each American has is way more than everybody else in the world. And so, using the US consumers as a whole group, to try to help uh and use it as a bargaining chip at the table to help negotiate better trade agreements. Yeah, definitely there could be fairer agreements, across the board. We don't need 100% free trade to be successful. We could definitely help industry. Like I said, the shrimping industry was definitely, a lot of people in the shrimping industry are praising this. But there are other people that are gonna be hurt by this. And so I definitely feel, there's a definite, a middle ground there somewhere. And using US consumers, our, Americans as a bargaining chip, it can definitely help because we're a significant group in the grand scheme of world consumers. We consume a lot. I know this because I'm at thrift stores all the time, looking at all the stuff getting donated. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff as well too, getting donated, just used and thrown away. Um, I already talked about, like, we as a, we've benefited so much from free trade. I mean, somewhat free, mostly free trade. We've benefited so much from trade, operating the trade deficit as a people, as Americans, as consumers here. Like I said, so with that being said, if items get more expensive coming in, there might be issues where buying something and just throwing it away might change. That could change. And again, a little to kind of tie in a little bit of reseller talk here, that could mean less donations. So still in there. We're not talking about like shipping supplies and if like I'm creating this video on a camera, those camera electronics. So my recommendation is things might get more expensive in about a month or two. So yeah, if you have any plans to buy anything right now, especially small electronics or anything, yeah, you might want to perhaps look to try to get that now if you can. Um, so cost of goods start to go up. People might be holding on to things a little bit longer. You might not be hitting that buy now button on Amazon so quickly. So just something to be aware of. Something to be aware of. We already touched on that, so let's skip that page. And it's just some AI talk I was going to talk about. Let's skip that. What is this? Yeah, skip that one. I should have folded that page. Yeah, that page should have been folded. I'm just to make sure. All my notes are kind of out of order. Maybe I should have put them together or not, but we're gonna work through it here. Longer video, which means more ads in the video. Hopefully you guys watch through the ads. Or I mean, I'm pretty sure at some point you get to skip the ads or subscribe to YouTube Premium. If YouTube is one of your primary ways to consume content, definitely subscribe to the Premium. I do because I don't like commercials. And then really quickly, like to connect everything, to the pandemic and really why I think, yes, there's an agenda to help bring jobs here, help certain industries, negotiate better deals with other countries. But really, the target here is China. I think the target is China, and will really expose what China is doing. Is the pandemic really exposed everything there? It showed really our reliance upon other countries, and the lion's share over at China. Um, and China, they're smart. They know what they're doing, and they've been making, smart plays to be the supplier to the world. And we saw during the pandemic what happens if you start to cut off that supply. Panic. Toilet paper goes out. We start buying toilet paper like it's nobody's business. Toilet paper, paper products at all, paper towels, whatever you were using. Starts just, we get crazy and we just start buying up like crazy. And, then you have shortages and you have, mad rush to get that item. And so we saw what happened. I pressed the button by accident. Hopefully I didn't do anything. We saw what happened, with our, a lot of reliance upon other countries and primarily China, and it exposed China and what they're doing, and they're trying to be the supplier to the world so that they can have that power and that control. Their consumers, they have a big consumer base. They have a really big consumer base, but it's not as far as their, household money, It's not as big as other places, especially here in the US. Um, so they were, trying maybe in a sneaky way to become the supplier to the world, the number one supplier to the world. And they were caught. The pandemic happened, they were caught. And so now I definitely believe that we're trying to hopefully not be so dependent, at least be able to switch gears if we need to. I think we can do it better. We can definitely negotiate better with other places to get better deals with them. And obviously we have to offer them certain other places and send other countries incentives and all that to try to diversify. I think diversification is the answer here. Be well diversified. You hear about that all, stock market talk, investing talk, diversification, hedging your bets. Um, and so that's also there's a lot of different, things happening, a multi-pronged approach here, a lot of issues that want to be taken care of here, there, here. So there's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. And then what do we have? The one little tidbit of news I think that, that kind of got buried by everything is OPEC, or, all the Middle Eastern countries that produce oil. And there's some other countries too, besides, the Middle East kind of countries that produce oil. And a part of this, production's increasing in oil. What does that mean? Oil prices are going down, which is great, right? Everybody wants to pay less for gas. But why? Why? Did it really make any sense for them to make that play? That's really good. Redbreast 12, Irish whiskey, really good. Um, what's their play? What's going on here? Why all of a sudden there was no reason for it. There's no shortages right now that I'm aware of. There's no the price isn't getting wildly, out of control here. Um, I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of a little bit fascinating why this little, bit of news, why they decided to do this at this time right now. I definitely believe there was some sort of, coordination here. There was something here, Yeah, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the current leader of Saudi Arabia, who's the biggest member of that group, I believe the prince there is, buddies with Donald Trump. I believe. I'm not 100% sure. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that they have, they like each other, I think. They're bros. Uh, so maybe something happened there. Maybe there was some sort of there's definitely, like I said, there's all kinds of different things happening right now. And hopefully sooner than later we see the grand plan come together here. And I don't know. All that to say is I really don't see these tariffs lasting very long at all. I think there will be deals. Someone mentioned on CNBC that, Donald Trump is known as a deal maker. And I definitely believe there will be deals to be made. We don't want to see, other companies impose other countries impose, tariffs on our goods coming in. Obviously, costs are going up, which ultimately gets translated down to the consumer. The tariffs, don't think, that these tariffs are going to get eaten by these companies. They're going to be, spread out throughout throughout the whole process, and the consumer is going to pay more. We're going to pay more for these things. I'm already anticipating that. Definitely something to be aware of. I think prices will go up on items that are coming into this country. Just be aware of that. So there's any, purchases you want to make now, make them now. And just remember too, it's not just like a microphone. Microphone, there's going to be, it's made here in the USA. Let's just say it's made here in the USA, but all the parts that went into that, were made elsewhere. Were made in other parts of the world. and then it was assembled here. So all those parts have a little bit of cost that are coming along with them as they come into this country to be built. Another reason why, let's say you want to bring more manufacturing into this country, we're going to need to build those plants, right? Where are all those products going to come from? Some of them might come from within the United States, but not all of them. Some of that stuff's going to have to come from overseas, and there's going to be all these little extra costs that are going to be associated with that to bring it in. So it's it's a very complex thing, and the stock market is reacting. The stock market being all these people that have money. You don't think I don't invest any money in the stock market. I don't have any skin in the game there. I don't buy anything, buy and sell. If you have a retirement plan, you're involved. You're involved. So but you just know, these waves come and go, and this is a reaction to all the news, potential. Some people may be strategically reacting, getting ahead of the curve. But usually what happens is when you see someone selling, another person starts selling, and then you see two people selling, and then the third person joins in. Then you see three people selling, then two more, four more join in there, and then all of a sudden you just have everybody just sell, 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 and it just, it all goes downhill after that. So nothing really, really, truly to worry about at this very moment. I don't foresee this is way too outrageous. It's too outrageous. It's a borderline almost hilarious and almost unbelievable. These numbers, tariff numbers. Yeah, you know, I can't see these going that much. It's a little ridiculous. It's pretty ridiculous. Um, but I think that shock and that shock was built into it. You know, trying to force people's hands here, and we're going to do everything we can to force. They're going to do, not we. They are going to do everything in their power to force the hands that they want forced to act in the way that they want them to act. And once they get what they want, maybe we'll see these tariffs kind of go, at least get down to manageable levels. I don't think they'll completely go away. At least get them down to, something that's a little more manageable. I was listening to, an analyst say that current tariffs for each American will amount to an additional cost in spending your money. Spend a little bit more with these tariffs all go into effect accordingly and stay in effect. It'll be an additional $2,100 per year. So obviously, it's per year. So over the course of a whole year, it's not really, you can break it down per month, per week, per day. It's not really that much, but every little bit adds up. And I talk about this on the channel all the time. When they're reselling, every little bit adds up. Every dollar, every penny. I say I don't want to spend. I'd rather spend 4 than 5. I'm gonna leave behind for 5. But if it was $4, I'll take it. That dollar, it makes a difference in the grand scheme. So a lot of talking, but we had a great whiskey. Right here. We're gonna get some chicken later. So that'll be good. And yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say. And let me know in the comments down below what you think. How will this affect reselling? Everything, eventually it could lead, like I said, it could lead to a trickle down effect where we see less people, items being donated. Obviously, that would be probably more likely years down the road. Yeah, good, like shipping boxes, supplies. We could potentially see a higher price there, somewhere there. All things we use like in our business. If you make videos, all the cost with computer components. Although we saw tariffs already on computer components already. There too on electronic. We saw tariffs already on all those. So that's it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and we'll see you in the next one.
Hey, you've made it to the end. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please like the video by hitting the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel by hitting my little round icon down below. It really does help us out here. Also, you'll find a couple of selections. You'll see a playlist of videos to watch and my most recent video that I did upload.